you've got some amazing testimonials as well, Dane. You've got some incredible results with people, not just for transforming different areas of their life, but actually with physical diseases, where you know they've been diagnosed with a cancer or something, and then they've gone back after some sessions with you, and it's gone. Can you explain how that works?
Well, the way I would say it is the time when that works is only when somebody's really willing to change it. And basically, one of the things you want to know is that your point of view creates your reality. And by the way, I don't ever claim to heal anything, okay? Because it's not up to me, it's up to the person. All I can do is facilitate them in having the consciousness that allows them to unlock what will allow them and their body to change it if they're willing to. But one of the things to realize is your point of view creates your reality. Reality doesn't create your point of view. And so, for example, you'll have two people in the exact same situation who respond totally differently based on their point of view, and the situation shows up for them differently. Like, you ever notice when you're in a huge hurry, everybody in front of you is so slow, when you're like, I need to move now, I'm late, but then whenever you get out of being in a hurry, everybody goes again to normal speed. Well, that's basically a real simple example of how your point of view creates your reality. And if we could realize that this is how we create all of the dis-eases in our body also. We take a point of view and we start locking it in, and science has told us, which is very interesting, science several years ago, we had realized that anytime, in Access, we had realized that anytime you have a thought, a feeling, an emotion that gets into your system, basically, it can start the creation of disease. Well, science came out 2 years later with this article saying, it's amazing, we found that these thoughts, these feelings, and the emotions are energies that actually intersect with the spherical structure that the cell should have and turn it into an elliptical structure, which is the beginning of the creation of disease. And I went, yeah, we've known that for several years. It's kind of cool. It's cool to get the validation from science, but basically what we're doing to change these things is giving the people the awareness they require to make a different choice, basically. And it can be a little more complicated than that. But for example, it's like in working with a lady who had breast cancer. My question was, okay, so what do you love about creating cancer? And she wanted to hit me. She got so mad. What do you mean love about creating cancer? I'm a victim to it. And I worked with her, and finally, after about 20 times of asking her this and using this clearing statement, which sort of shaves away the layers that you can't see underneath, when she finally got to that place where she could see what was underneath it, she went, oh my gosh, you know what? She's like, I'm so unhappy in my relationship. She's like, but I could never tell my family. She's like, and my kids would be devastated. And she's like, and if they get to, help me transition through cancer, I mean, basically they get to show me they love me, which isn't something we've had in our family for so long. She's like, there are a lot of pluses to this. And I was like, wow, what an interesting thing. And this is where this particular person was functioning from. And the thing was, I said, okay, so, are you willing to change it? And she was like, yeah, I think I could choose some different options, but that was her choice, the capacity and willingness to choose some different options. But we've all got the reasons why we create things. Some of us, and this is an interesting one, we talked about who does this belong to for thoughts, feelings, and emotions. One of the things I found when I was doing this primarily with bodies as a chiropractor was 50 to 90% of what went on in people's bodies actually didn't belong to them. Somehow they were aware of it in other people's bodies, or trying to help other people and trying to take on the pain and suffering that they knew no other way to deal with. And I mean, literally, I had a guy come in who had been seeing me for months just prior to me doing Access. He'd been seeing me for almost 3 months as a patient, and he was in back pain that went from, when he was in a low stage of it, it was about a 4 out of 10, and it would exacerbate to about a 9 out of 10. And he came in one day, and I had gotten this "Who does this belong to?" tool, and I'm like, nothing else has worked with this guy. And he came in, and he takes him 5 minutes to relax enough to lie face down on my chiropractic table. And I said, hey, I want to ask you a question. He said, what? And I said, hey, because when you're in that pain, it doesn't make you a happy person, And he said, I just want to ask you something. I said, who does this belong to, this pain in your back? And he pushes himself up and he looks at me with these startled eyes and he says, my wife? And I sat there and my mouth dropped open and I started crying and I was like, what? And really what had happened was the guy's wife had been in such intense pain. She had had back surgery and even that hadn't helped the pain. And he remembered the moment where he looked at her and he went, you know what? I would do anything to get her out of pain. I love her so much. And somehow, and I said, let me ask you a question. Is she in pain still? He's like, no, she got over it months ago. Somehow, nobody knows how she got over it. Well, I think we figured out how she got over it. And and once again, that can seem weird too. But it's the thing that actually changed the pain. With that, and then with another hour or so of access work, the guy left virtually pain-free. He got over 98% of his pain that day. And I'd been working with him for 3 months, and literally the week before that, or 3 weeks before that, within the month before that, I had told him, I said, look, you know what? Why don't you please go to somebody else? Obviously, I'm not helping you here because you get out of pain when you're here and then you come back and it's always back. And he said, Doc, you don't get it. He's like, the reason I keep coming to you is because you're the only one who's gotten me out of even that much pain. This was prior to having the access tools. Well, in using this tool and seeing it actually change for him, I realized that what it takes to create change is something far different than most of us have ever been exposed to or most of us have experienced. And the way my litmus test is, does this work? Does this actually create the change you're asking for? And for most cases, in most situations, if it's working, we know it within minutes, you know, and because if it's not changing it, we head in another direction. I just, once again, even if you don't know what the tools are right now, if you'll ask yourself, okay, what's it going to take to change this situation? You will find a way. It doesn't have to be access, and I don't care if it's access, quite frankly. I just know that when you know change is possible, you become the invitation for that in the world, and the world needs to know it's possible.